How impossible is it to sell your condo in Surrey Central? Well, in this video, I'm going to be giving you the cold, hard data because a couple times a week, I'll have a conversation with somebody who has a condo to sell in Surrey Central, whether it's one they've owned for a while or one that maybe it's like a pre-sale that they're about to complete on. They don't want to hold it. They don't want to rent it out. They don't want the headache of the tenant. They don't want to be cash flow negative. And they're like, hey, I can't assign it. I couldn't find a buyer on assignment. However, when we complete, I want to sell this unit, right? So how much can I get for it? And then after I do the analysis and I dread calling them back every time. I almost don't even want to call them because I know how this conversation is going to go. I'm the guy who breaks the bad news. That's basically who you are right now as a realtor on this. You're the messenger, right? And some people do shoot the messenger, not everybody, but I'll have this conversation and every single time it's like, what? How is that the price? How am I not making, and not only am I not making money, how have I had this unit for like 4 or 5 years and I'm losing money after realtor commissions? That's the conversation that I'm having a couple times a week, at least when it comes to Surrey Central. I mean, I'm having it pretty much everywhere, but Surrey Central is definitely the worst because you'll have people who bought in like 2018 and 2019 who are losing money after realtor fees. I don't have that problem anywhere else, but I'm having it in Surrey Central. Now on the buy side, I'm having a lot of fun right now, right? Because I get to give my clients good news, right? I get to show them that, hey, you bought this. This was the last comparable sale. You're way below that last comparable sale, right? So on the buy side, I get to break people, I get to be the guy who gives people good news. But on the selling side, it's pretty much never good news. I don't remember the last time I've given a seller good news other than, yay, your place sold is like the best news. But again, nobody really likes the price. So let's start off with the statistics, okay? Currently right now, 457,000, still not below the lows of December 2022 at 455K. However, as I just stated, there are a lot of people who are underwater on purchases that they bought in 2018 and 2019. This is just what's being reflected on the HPI. Now, total inventory, 740 condos on the market right now. Sales to actives has been going up the last couple months, but only at 10%. Overall sales, 74. So that is a 10 months of supply, right? 740 units on the market, 740 sales. That's 10 months of supply. Now let's get into the data right now because I have some pretty alarming things to show you. So first off, okay, let's say you have a 1-bedroom unit to sell in Surrey Central. Well, unfortunately, there's 339 of those, okay? Let's say you're completing on a pre-sale and you want to sell that unit, right? Why? How is the price the way it is? How come I can't sell this unit? How come my realtor isn't doing anything, right? It's like what I hear a lot from a lot of sellers out there. And the reason being is like, if you hold an open house, nothing's going to happen, right? Like no one is going to show up when there's 340 competing units. You're fighting over a couple buyers to show up to your open house, right? So 1 bed, 1 bath, let's say it's max 2 years old. So built 2023 or newer, 154. Some of those are going to be studios, right? So let's just say it's, at least 500 square feet. Okay. 107. So if you're completing on a pre-sale, 1 bedroom, that's at least 500 square feet, you're going to have 107 comparable units that you have to compete against to get that buyer, right? Let's see how many accepted offers there's been in the last 30 days, right? Because, inventory is one side of the equation, but what's the sales side, right? Let's say sellers accepted the offer within the last 30 days. Two out of 107. So you have 107 units fighting over 2 buyers, right? So the problem is that pretty much all of these units are the same. Like there's not a lot of unique differentiating factors about these brand new one. Pretty much they're all the same, right? Like if you go look at 1 bedrooms that are, maximum 2 years old, at least 500 square feet, they're all going to be the same. Some will be on higher floors, some will be on lower floors, but they're pretty much all the same floor plan, right? So how do you differentiate yourself from 107 other competitors? Well, if the unit isn't unique, then the price has to be a 10 out of 10. That's how you get the sale, right? So like in this market currently, it's not really enough to be competitively priced. People have to scroll through the MLS and think that you are a screaming deal to take action. Just being priced, somewhat attractively isn't going to be enough to get your units sold in this environment. You have to appear to be a screaming deal amongst the absolute flood, right? The plethora of other existing comparable units on the market, right? So that's one beds. Let's say you had a 2-bed that's maximum 2 years old. That is, okay, well, there's only been one sale in the last, or one accepted offer in the last 30 days for those. So, I mean, this isn't looking good so far. So let's go to actives, 123 on the market. And this is just ones that are 2023 or newer. Let's get rid of that criteria. So this is all ages. 285. Let's see the sales on that, or the accepted offers on that in the last 30 days. 11. It's not looking too good. So people ask me, right, when I have these conversations with sellers, like, how is this possible? How have I not made any money since like 2018 or 2019? Well, it's because you have 107 competing units on the market right now, right? So the only ones that sell, those 2 sales, had to drop their price substantially to get that sale, right? That's how that's happening. Now on the buyer side, right, I just negotiated a deal. I'm not going to say the listing price because you'll probably know which one it is, but we negotiated about 10% off the asking price. And this wasn't a $600,000 condo, right? It was much cheaper than that, right? 10% off the asking price, okay? So I think there's a lot of opportunity right now for buyers in this area. But you look at the stats, right? How are prices not going to go down in this environment? Like, they have to. It's basically frozen when there's 2 accepted offers in the last 30 days, 107 units on the market. That's frozen. Like, there's no activity. There's nothing happening there, right? And again, the only way you're going to make something happen on the selling side is if the price basically looks like a fire sale. And I guess the question becomes, how low do the prices have to be to bring back a substantial amount of buyer demand into this area? But again, you don't have to subscribe to the prices that sellers are asking. You can write much lower offers in Surrey. There was I've written 4 or 5 offers now on units in Surrey Central, and 4 of them got rejected. All 4 times, those sellers came back to me a week later and were ready to take that price. So, and actually one of them rejected my offer at a certain price, and then the next day accepted somebody else's offer at that price. So I don't know how, pretty unfair if you ask me, but regardless, it is a good time to be a buyer in this market. Yes, prices are going to keep going down. I just don't see any way how they're not when that is the current statistical dynamic in this area. But you can get some pretty good deals and insulate yourself from further downward price action, because within those 107 units, somebody's going to be willing to sell, because it is like just even getting a showing is like hitting the lottery right now in Surrey Central. And if you want to chat with me about buying or selling in the Fraser Valley, you can book a time to chat with me using the link below. Otherwise, I'm that Agent Kelly. Appreciate you for being here. I'm making moves to move you. Peace.